love story.
I didn't grow up with any siblings. I have a sibling, but he didn't grow up in the house. I was just always by myself. My mum worked long hours, so it was just me, always by myself. So this
But
made
in the
me...
house was you and your mum?
Yes.
But most of the time you were alone?
Yes. Eventually, one time my cousin came to stay, but most of the time it was me and my mum.
And how old were you in this time?
So this started from, I think my cousin came back when I was 3. So it was like from like 3 to 11, I think.
Oh.
So it was quite early on that it started. So then back then I didn't know that I was depressed, but I would try to explain to people that this is what I'm going through, but nobody would really believe me because they would
just a
think,
child.
yeah, and why should I be depressed? I have nothing to be depressed about. So there was times that I would self-harm, and I would show people that I've self-harmed, but then they wouldn't believe me because they'll say, oh, it's not deep enough. So it was like I was trying to get help, but it was never, my depression was never good enough.
I can't believe you heard that. It's not, it's not, isn't deep enough.
It's like it's nothing.
Yeah, so.
In my school as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And by this time we had already met, because we met in primary school. So I was actually very dependent on him because in secondary school, he was my best friend. So I would tell him everything. So everything that was going on in my house, me and my mum, we didn't get along. So on top of us being apart, when we were together, we were always arguing. So then I would literally tell him everything. So he became like, in a way, my God, because I was literally burdening him with everything. Also, as growing up, I was abused as well. So that had an effect because now I didn't trust men and I was just confused on like why everything was just happening. And then my relationship with my dad wasn't good as well because he was an alcoholic and he chose like not to be close to us. So that had an effect because I didn't have a male figure in my life. So it just kept getting worse. I even had suicidal thoughts, especially when I went to uni because I was by myself now. And I was thinking, okay, uni is going to be the time where I live my best life. Because I was thinking, okay, they say at uni, it's meant to be great, you're meant to make friends and all of this. And in uni, I just turned into a complete different person. I had never drank before because that just wasn't a thing in my house. But when I went to uni, I drank, smoked weed. I just became somebody that I wasn't before. So then this made me have more suicidal thoughts. There was times when I took like an overdose. It was just a mess.
So basically you were trying it by doing everything you were doing, like smoking, even, smoking, drinking and living this life. Was this a trial for you at least to find some peace to like, cover this hole you have, in your background, this lack of figure, as you said, the male figure in your house, your father, lack of attention from your mother as well. Was this like, a trial for you to, okay, let me forget about this?
At the time, I would have said I was actually enjoying it. I thought I was actually enjoying it. I thought this is what I wanted to do. But then coming to the church, I realized that, that wasn't me. So I think it was actually trying to get attention from somewhere because I knew that by drinking and doing all these things, I'm getting attention. It might not be the right attention, but I was getting attention.
Yeah. So, this is very important because, Karina, we are talking about, a love story here, but we are going, like from since her, childhood. And people may think, but how come? Why you need to go so far? Because we understand, we even have a seminar about it when we start talking about Jacob and Esau, that love life starts before we were born.
That's true.
The references that we had, they will impact, greatly the way I'm living now. We can see, the way your upbringing was affected by, the problems you had, right? The lack of your father, the lack of your mom as well, though she was there, but as you said, she was, doing long hours. So most of the time you were alone.
No one believes in you.
The lack of attention. Yes. As we were saying yesterday, those who have this problem with neediness, people, they are very needy. I believe that was you.
Yes.
Yeah, you are because for sure you experienced that a little bit.
Yes, Pastor.
Okay,
but she's seeking for attention.
Yes. So basically, when you start talking to him and you make him your friend, and eventually start dating him, having a relationship, that was also something like, okay, let me grab this one here, because at least he is ready to listen to me, right?
Yes. Looking back on it, we shouldn't have started dating, because it was just it was just a mess. It was like two broken people trying to come and fix, but it just couldn't work.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And what about you, Albert? Tell us a little bit of your background.
So when I was younger, so starting from around probably year 7, I was heavily addicted to pornography and video games. And that was down to the fact that I didn't speak much to my parents. I didn't have a relationship with them. So when I got home, I was a stranger in my own house, in a sense. I'd say hello and go straight into my room. We were playing video games or pornography. And that's how it was throughout the whole secondary school. To the point,
it's different, because though you had the presence of your father and mother at home, but you were isolating yourself from them.
Yeah, I was like hiding from them, to a point where, because I didn't talk to them or talk to anyone really, it built social anxiety inside of me. So if I talk to someone now, in my head I'm really thinking, what do I say next? How do I speak to this person? Because my relationship was with pornography and video games. So that was my life throughout the whole secondary school. And to the point to where I went to uni, I thought I had enough, so I wanted to leave. So I went to Southampton. And in Southampton is where I actually first started drinking, smoking weed. And that was like another relief, another, let's say, pleasure for me to enjoy the moments I didn't have with my family or anything, but to enjoy that moment. So that's my sense of relief. That's how I relieve pleasure for myself.
So, and you start dating that way.
Yeah.
So people, as you said, broken people together with these lots of problems in the hope, okay, let's start something here. We're gonna fix each other. So how can you fix each other if both of you are broken? So where to start to, right? It's quite hard to.
It's not possible.
It's impossible, right?
Yeah.
So tell us, how was this? Actually, how did you start dating? How was this? Okay, you because you were already friends, right?
Yeah.
So how was this?
So if I'm honest,
Was there a beginning?
there was. So because we've known each other for so long in secondary school, I actually told him that I liked him. And then he said, oh, he just wants to be friends. So then we left it as that. So then later on, when we grew up a little bit, I think he assumed that I still liked him. So then that's when
I made the move, yeah. This was like towards the end of sixth form. So then after I started to have feelings for her, so after I asked her out. Yeah.
And then started dating.
Then you started dating, yeah.
And how tell us about your expectation about this relationship in the beginning when you start dating. What are you expecting from this relationship?
For me, I had past relationships and I was just expecting that this one has to be better because
It's my friend.
yes, because all of them, it just started off wrong. There was just so many, but I was like, this has to be better. So I think even though it's good that I thought positive about it, but it was also bad because I was putting a lot of pressure into the relationship. So I was thinking, because it has to be better, nothing can go wrong. So if something is going wrong, why is this happening? So I wasn't thinking rationally.
How was this situation? Because, okay, you start dating, you had feelings, you liked each other, but you had problems also.
Of course, definitely.
So how was that? 3 years, right?
3 years.
Tell us about these 3 years.
So it was difficult in terms of, because I was always isolated by myself and she always wanted to talk to me. For me, it got annoying to the point because sometimes I just wanted to be alone.
She talked a lot.
She talked a lot. So it was too much, and it got to our nerves a lot, to the point where we'd probably start shouting at each other. Got to the point where we were really aggressive with each other in terms of where she'll push me, and for me, I don't understand why. Because for me, I'm used to being alone. I was used to doing things my own way, and the fact she wants to talk so much.
And how did you feel when she was trying, talking to you and asking about your day, asking about your life? How was that for you at the time?
For me, it got. I don't know how it makes sense, but it got too much for me. It was like as if a nagging parent in a sense. So like in a sense, I even saw like a parent. Like I was like she was nagging on me, asking me to do this, to do that, and it got frustrating to the point where there was times where when we would argue, I'd just walk out because I was like, I can't deal with this. It's not for me to deal with.
So it's like you're trying to break in up, to break in a room. It was completely locked, trying to be part of his life. And he was there, okay, no. Just leave me here. Just leave me alone. How was that? How it was that frustrating for you?
It really was, because because we were at uni, we lived really far apart. So I lived in Cambridge and he lived in Southampton. So it was like 4 hours away.
Oh.
So it would be rare because we didn't have money to see each other. So I relied a lot on phone calls, but then I was trying to speak to him, but then he wasn't wanting to speak, and I was just confused. I was like, he says he likes me, so why is it so difficult for me to speak to him? And then he would it seemed like he would rather be with his friends. So I was just like, what's happening? It doesn't make sense that I'm trying to speak to you and you say you like me, but you don't want to speak to me. And then when he would come, or I would go and see him, I would want to spend all the time with him, but then he would still be trying to push me away. I was like, it doesn't make sense to me. So it was a lot of confusion and frustration, and then it caused a lot of arguments because he's thinking one way and I'm thinking another way, but we didn't really know the words to actually explain it to each other. So he was dealing with something, I didn't understand it, and then I was dealing with something, but we didn't communicate it to each other.
And what is your vision about this relationship when you base it on where you were, living the way you were living before, arguments, problems, lack of understanding. Basically, it was like you speaking Japanese and she was speaking, a different language. You were unable to understand each other. Did you have any idea where you wanted to go with this relationship? You had this vision, okay, I'm let's get married, let's build a family, coming back from that reality, how was your idea for future?
So she always wants to get married at a certain age. And after I would say, yeah, I agree on it, but then I always try and push it a year later. My expectation wasn't to get married. I wanted to date her for as much long as I could, in a sense. So I never saw an end goal with her. And I think that frustrated her a lot as well, because she was always asking me, are we going to get married, so on and so forth. But in my head, that wasn't the thing. So I would, in a sense, even lie to her just to please her for that moment, so I could be in that relationship.
Consider that she's now a new woman,
yeah.
So we can say that. Okay. Were you being pressurized?
I felt as if I was being pressurized, because for me, I didn't want to get married as soon as she wanted to get married, so it was like I was feeling pressured.
And why you have this anxiety? Okay, let's get married.
No, for me, I didn't really have anxiety, but even though I had my past, but I knew what I wanted. I didn't know how I was going to get there, but I knew how I wanted. And I wanted to get married. So, and I had a clear age of 25, I want to get married. So I was telling him this to make sure we're on the same page. And he would say, oh, yeah, we'll get married at 25. Then he'll change it to 26. So I was just like, I just want to make sure we're on the same page, because I've heard stories of people saying they're going to get married and it never happens. And I didn't want to be in that situation. So I just wanted to make it clear that he actually wanted marriage.
But can you see the importance of the emotional intelligence? The importance of the intelligent love. We're talking about the emotional intelligence. This is the intelligent love. Because I believe for you, Olanike, you thought you were ready to get married straight away. But imagine you getting married, the way you were, that old Olanike and that old Albert. The disaster, because dating, whilst dating, you're already living this, as you said, even, moments that you have even, that physical friction, right? Pushing each other and these things. So that would be a disaster.
Can you
That would
imagine
be-
living together?
No,
Married.
that would be a disaster. That would be a disaster. Okay, but then you start attending the church,
Yeah.
and you realize that you were doing everything wrong, right?
Everything. Yeah.
And tell us, please, about this next step, this transformation. How was this process of transforming your relationship, transforming the way you were, leading that relationship?
So when we started coming to the church, I don't believe we started attending love therapy straight away, but then the pastor told us about love therapy, and then we were coming. I didn't know what to really expect, but at the time I thought I was taking in the messages and actually applying it, but I wasn't, because I would hear the message and then go and tell him that, oh, this is what you need to do.
So you were like one of those that they come like the movie,
Matrix.
my favorite movie, Matrix, dodging the bullets,
Yeah.
So you're receiving the message, oh, that's for Albert. Oh, that's for Albert
Yeah.
also.
It's
Yes,
not for me.
I'm going to speak to Albert about it also.
Yeah, so I didn't.
Let me take notes.
Yeah, so I was literally like that. I would take notes and be like, okay, I'm gonna give this to
Not for
him.
you.
Yeah. So of course that didn't change anything.
So at the beginning you thought, if he changed, everything will change.
Yeah.
This is the problem.
Yeah. So then in 2020 we kept coming, and then I can't remember, but I remember there was one service where it was talking about how you have to look at yourself, and I was like, oh. Because I had never done that before. I was always blaming him. I was always trying to look at his problems, what he needed to fix, but I actually needed to fix myself. So then when I started to do that, it was a very long process, because I had to unlearn so many things, because at this point, when we started attending the love therapy, we had both received the Holy Spirit. So I was thinking that, okay, my past is gone. Nothing's going to affect me anymore. So I had to understand that those things are still there, that I like how I grew up is still a part of me, but I need to fight it in a way. So there was a lot of things that I had to unlearn and learn how to communicate, because
Let us stop there, because this is a very important point. Learning new things and unlearning old things. We know that that's not easy for you to let go of old habits. So how was this process, this specific process for you to let go of old habits? For example, stop pushing him, stop demanding these things. How was that for you?
to be honest, it was horrible, because it was like everything I knew was like, everything is wrong. So I was like, I don't even know how to be in a relationship anymore, because everything I've been doing is wrong. So it was really a horrible process, because I just felt unsure. I didn't know what to do. Everything was just wrong. But even though the process was horrible at the beginning, but when I started seeing the effects, I was just like, wow, like this is so amazing that like God saved this relationship, because it was a disaster.
And what about you, Albert?
So when I first started in love therapy, I'll be honest, I thought me just coming there would be a blessing already. So I didn't try and apply anything, if that makes sense. So I'd come thinking God will just bless me because I'm making the effort to be there.
You felt like it would be like Tuesday. You come, receive a prayer, I'm healed.
Yeah, that's what I thought it'd be. But I learned it wasn't the way, because I'll go back, maybe go on a date, and problems were still there. We'll still argue. So there was no change. So I was thinking, what am I doing wrong? I'm making the effort to go to Thursday. Not everyone goes Thursday. So I'm making the effort. God should honor me. But it wasn't like that. So I had to learn to apply these things into my life. Even like in terms of talking to her, I learned, obviously, I'm not the greatest talker, but she is. So I've got to make time to understand what she wants as well. So it was a battle with back and forth with that. That was like maybe my hardest thing, for me to be able to talk to her at the same level she wants me to talk to her. But coming to love therapy, I learned it's not just about me. I've got to make sure I'm pleasing her, but first of all, putting God first. Because when I put God first, I was able to identify the things that I needed to change as well. Because the communication that I had with God is the same communication I need to build with Olanike.
And what were
as
the
well.
main things you needed to change? You realize, okay, I need to change these or that. What were these things, and how was this process of changing, because for sure, as she said, that there were things that she had to learn and unlearn. You also had this, right?
Mhm.
How was that for you? And what were these things?
It was hard as well. So I had to learn to give her time as well, because for me, it was always my time. So I had to learn how to give her the same time as I'm going to give myself as well, and make it equal. Also, respecting her as well, respecting what she wants as well, because there's a few things she asks for me, but I would be lazy about it, not do it straight away. I would take my time with it, which isn't fair enough, because if I asked her, she would do it for me straight away. So I had to show the same level of fairness to her as well. So learning that was hard, because when I was at home before, I didn't have to depend on anyone. I didn't have to help anyone out. It was me and my circle. So learning comes to love for better, I learned these things, and it helped a lot.
And finally, you're married.
Yeah.
Still a honeymoon.
Yeah.
But how is life now? It's different.
Yes, Pastor, very different. We're actually happy and we are actually best friends. Like, we don't argue, and even if there's an argument about the food, by the time it's even gonna become something, we've already laughed it off, because we understand how to communicate now. We understand that there's no need to argue, there's no need to be mean to each other, because if we say we love each other, then we should show love. We shouldn't show anger to each other. So it's really a blessing.
And how is the relation from your side, or Albert? Because there are always two sides.
No, it's really good. It's really good. So, like as you said, when argument about to happen, it wouldn't last long. It's going to be squashed, and it's like, as you said before, we can actually speak one language now. So me and her, anything that comes our way, we're able to fight it off, because we can speak the one language together.
As you are now listening to this couple, that they had a total transformation in their love life. And you can also have this total transformation, this, life that we're living now, that is can be compared like water. There is no flavor, there is no taste, there is no color, there's nothing. It's just there. It's just a relationship. It's just someone for you to call, oh, that's my boyfriend, that's my girlfriend, that's my husband, that's my wife. Perhaps you are even alone. It doesn't matter. As Jesus transformed that water into wine, he can transform you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Pastor.
God bless you.
God bless you. Have a wonderful night. Bye.
The Love Talk Show on Liberty Radio.